So good morning to all. So we are discussing what is schema refinement. So what are the approaches of schema refinement? So everything. So actually schema refinement is will intend the refinement approaches based on decomposition. So actually redundant is the root cause for all the problems. Decomposition eliminates the redundancy. What are the problems of redundancy? So there are so many problems of redundancy, redundant storage. Redundant storage means the same information is available at multiple places in a database is called as redundant storage. So and again we have the updation anomaly, insertion anomaly, and deletion anomalies. So what is updation anomaly? When the same address is stored in multiple places, it is very inconvenient to update the information because the information is stored in multiple places. So this is called as updation anomaly. For example, if a student address is stored in multiple places, when the address of a student is changed, it is necessary to change the student details in multiple places. This is called as updation anomaly. Again, we have the insertion anomaly. So what is insertion anomaly? So insertion anomaly means an error or inconsistency that is occurred during the insertion of a data is called as insertion anomalies. So there are some there are some possibilities. There may be some possibility that we cannot insert the details of the employees even with with details of the employees because there will be some problems. Again, we have the deletion anomaly. So when we delete a record from a table, so we can lose some other additional information. So that's we called as deletion anomaly. There are so many problems of there are so many problems so for example, if you take employee number, name, rating, hourly age, and hours, number of hours worked. So redundant storage, this is the problem. So because the hourly wage is stored redundantly, so this is the redundant information. So insertion anomaly, we cannot insert the details of the employee even there is no rating. So then again deletion anomaly. So we cannot delete, when we delete an employee information, we can also lose the hourly wage also. For example, if we delete the 105 employee, we can lose the rating 5 employees details also. That's we called as deletion anomaly. So these are some problems. So these problems are avoided by using decomposition. Decomposition means nothing but they are dividing the relation into smaller and well-structured relations is called as decomposition. So there are, suppose if you take an employee table, so there is some redundant information. So this table is divided into two tables. So one table has contains employee number, name, rating, and hours worked. Another table will consist of rating and hourly age. So when we delete this, when we divide the relation above relation into two relations, we can avoid the problem. Is there any problems of decomposition? So yes, there are some problems of decomposition. So before decomposing before decomposing, so it is necessary to define two questions. So when need a decomposition relation, so when we want to delete the decompose a relation, and what are the problems goes when we delete a relation? Yes, these are. So when we need a decomposition, actually, if there is a redundancy, then we can use decomposition, and there may be different normal forms are used to decompose a relation into a smaller relation. So then that's way. So the solution for this first question is normal forms. Normal form is the process of decomposing a relation into smaller relations that we call as normal forms. Normal form is the first answer for the when do need a decomposing a relation. Yes, normal forms, through normal forms we can decomposing a relation. Again we go for what problem does a good decomposition gives. So actually there are two problems that are arised during the decomposition. There one is lossless join property, another is called as dependency preservation properties. So the second one is there are two properties for decomposition. They are, first one is lossless join dependency. Lossless join property. Second is dependency dependency preservation property. So actually, there are two properties of decomposition. One is called as lossless property, lossless join property. Another is called as dependency preservation property. So what is lossless join property? So what is lossless join property? So a lossless join property, this property will defines when we join two relations, then we get the original relation. That's we call it. When we divide a relation into two sub-relations. After again, when we join the sub-relations, then it is necessary to get the original relation. If such a relation, then we get then that relation we called as lossless join dependency. So that's we call as a lossless property. This property enables us. This property enables us to recover any instance of the decomposed. So we can recover any instance of a decomposed relation from corresponding instances of smaller relations. So this we call as lossless property. So lossless property enables us to recover any instance of the decomposed relation from the corresponding instance of smaller relations. From smaller relations. So it is necessary to enable the original. Then we called as lossless join property. That's we called as lossless join. For example, so if we take this table, so when we are getting suppose this is the one table, this is the another table. Suppose I want the property, suppose rating, so from 8, so we'll get the information. So we are getting the complete information. So from the original two tables, then it is called as a lossless join dependency. For example, so this is one relation, this is another relation. So when I combine these two relations, so what is joining property? So and when in join property, the column value first value is equal to the column value of the second. So when the column value of the first is equal to the column value of the second. So if there is a 10, yes, there is a 10, yes. This row is selected. So again 8, yes, this row is selected. Again we have 8, yes, this row is selected. Again we have 10, yes, row is selected. So 10, yes, 7, yes. So we are getting the information. So when we are getting the information from two smaller relations, then we are getting that will called as lossless join dependency. Suppose So if I combine these two relations, for example, this is one relation, this is another relation. So when I combine these two relations, if I get the original relation, so then that we called as lossless joint dependency. So this is one relation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. For example, we have the employee number, name, rating, hours worked, This is one. So again, we have the rating. Suppose these are two relations. So this is first relation, this is another relation. So the column values of the first relation is like this. So this is another relation. The column values are like this. So this is the first relation. So this is another relation. If I join these two relations, so if I join these two relations, if I join these two relations, this one relation, this is another relation. If I joined these two relations, so let us assume there are two relations. This is first relation. This is second relation. Suppose I joined these two relations. When I join two relations, then we get the original relation. Then it is called as lossless joint dependency. So what is lossless joint? What is joint dependency? So what is, you already know joint. So in joints, the column value of the row is selected when the column value of the first table is equal to the column value of the second table. Then the row is selected, otherwise the row is not selected. So when you go for the resultant relation, so if you go for resultant relation, the resultant relation has five columns, 6 rows. So employee number, name, rating, again hours worked, hourly base. So when I joined these two relations, first row is so 101. Again, what is the name? Mr. Sai is the name. Rating is 8. A number of hours worked 57, 56. So what is the hourly is? And the column value is matched. So 8 is matched with 8. So the column hourly wage is 1000. Again, second one, 102. 102, Kiran. So what is the rating is 8. So number of hours 45. So what is the rating? So the column value of rating first table is equal to the column value of the rating in second table. Yes, sir. So rating is 1000. Yes. Again, we have the 103. 103. So Mr. Ramu. So rating is 10. Number of works 50. So then we have the matching row. Yes, the value is 50. Again, 104. Jerome. So rating is 10. 51. So what is the value? 1500. 105. Lashman. So what is the rating? 7. Number of hours 46. So matched value is 7. Yes, 7. 800. So like this, when we divide a relation into two smaller relations, when we join these two smaller relations, then again we get the original relation. Then it is called as a lossless joint dependency. Suppose if you lose some information, then we cannot say that it is a lossless joint. So sometimes some additional rows are also selected. That's we called as loosely coupled. That's we called as. Sometimes we'll get some additional rows. So such a thing will be happen sometimes. In such a case, the join is looseless. This one is called loosely joined. We call this because we cannot join properly. So that's why this is the first rule. So lossless property. Lossless property enables us to recruit any instance of decomposed relation from the instances of smaller relations. So we are getting the any instance from smaller relations. When we are getting the instances from smaller relations, then it is called as lossless joint dependency. This is one property. So this is called as so lossless property, lossless joint property. Another property is dependency preservation property. So what is dependency preservation property? What is the dependency preservation property? So this property enables us to enforce any constraint on the original relation by simply enforcing some constraints on each of the smaller relations. So when we enforce any constraint on original relation by simply enforcing some constraints on each of the smaller relations, that's we called as dependency preservation. This property enables us to enforce any constraint on the original relation by simply enforcing some constraints on smaller relations on each of the smaller relations. So when we enforce some constraints on original relation, then it is necessary to enforce some constraints on smaller relations also. So that's we called as dependency preservation. For example, so if, suppose this is a relation, the constraints for this relation is there are some constraints of this relation. So when we divide this, suppose we'll go for an example. So then what are the constraints of this relation? There are some constraints. Name is functional dependent on employee number. Rating is functional dependent on employee number. Hours worked is also depends on employee number. Hourly age is is dependent on rating. These are the constraints on this relation. Suppose the constraints of the above relation is. What are the constraints of this relation? So name is functional dependent on employee number. So name. Similarly, employee number, rating. Employee number, hours worked. Rating, hourly base. So these are the constraints. These are the some constraints. So again, rating, employee rating is functional dependent on employee number. So number of hours worked is also functional dependent on employee number. So and hourly wage is functional dependent on rating. Suppose when the relation is decomposed, when a relation is decomposed into two relations, relation is decomposed into two relations. When the relation is decomposed into, when the relation is decomposed, the relation is decomposed into two relations. They are. So the above relation, I divided this relation into two relations. This is the first relation. This is the first relation. So we have this is the first relation. So there are some constraints. So the another relation is this another relation. Another relation. See here, so there are some constraints. So there are some constraints. So these are the constraints of the first relation. This is another constraint. So this we call as so dependency preservation. So that's we called as dependency preservation. So that means when we apply some constraints on original relation, then it is necessary to apply some constraints on smaller relations also. So if we perform like this, that's we called as dependency preservation. Yes, there are some of the constraints of original relation is like this. So when I divided this relation into two smaller relations, again I applied some constraints on those relations. So this is called as dependency preservation. So this is about the schema refinement. So what is schema refinement? What are the problems of the schema refinement? Is nothing but addressing the refinement approaches for the addressing the refinement approaches based on decomposition. So actually redundancy is the root cause for all these problems. So to avoid such a problems, we go for different refinement approaches. One is decomposition. Actually, so decomposition is the refinement approach actually. So actually, what is the need to decompose? When to need decompose? What is the purpose of decompose? So that is for all is for all. So the redundancy is the main cause. So what is the redundancy? Redundancy is just nothing but storing the information. So when we divide a relation, this is about this. So this is about lossless join dependency property, and we have the this is dependency preservation property. So that means what is dependency preservation property means when original relation has some constraints, it is necessary to enforce some constraints on smaller relations also. So if such a thing is happened, that we call as this. This is about schema refinements. Then we have the this is one. So this is about so refinement approaches. This is about the schema refinement approaches. Then we go for functional dependencies. So what is functional? Actually, we are already covered. So functional dependency. What are the properties? Functional dependency. So what is functional dependency? Functional dependency is the concept of a key. So functional dependency. What is functional dependency? Is functional generalization is the concept of a key. Let R be a relation and X, Y, and R the non-empty sets of the attributes in the relation R. For instance of R satisfies the so for each value of A there is one that so that we call as functional dependency. So when there are some functional instances satisfies. So what is the reasoning for functional dependencies? The functional dependencies are used to avoid the redundancies. So there are some set of closure properties. Functional dependency implied given some closure of functional closure properties, some Armstrong axioms. Some of the Armstrong axioms for the functional dependencies, reflective, augmentation, and transitive. So union, decomposition. So these are some properties. So when you apply this, so that's when again we have the attribute closure. So like this, we have the functional dependency. What is functional dependency? First of all, you go for so what is functional dependency? Which is already covered. Again, we are going for one more time reason and some more information I will explain here. So actually, which is covered in relation in normal forms. So we have the second normal form. There is I explained clearly functional dependency. So functional dependency means So we already told that for an attribute y is functional dependent on x, if and only if for each value of x, there is a unique value of y. That's we call as a functional dependency. Let R is a relation. There are two attributes x and y. An attribute y is functional dependent on x if and only for each value of x, there is a unique value of y. That's we call as a functional dependency. So that's we call as functional dependency. So actually, so that's it. That is the meaning of functional dependency. What is functional dependency? Let R is a relation with attributes and y. Let R be a relation with the attributes x and y. An attribute y is functional dependent on x. An attribute y is functional dependent on x if and only for each value of x if and only for each value of x there will be a value of y. So that's we call as functional dependency. A functional dependency is represented by functional dependency is represented by x. So that's why is y is functional dependent on x. Like this we represent the functional dependencies actually. So like this we represent it. So that's like this way. This is about functional dependency. So actually there are some properties of functional dependency. Suppose if we take an example, therefore we can define set of functional dependencies. If we take this example, so the functional dependencies are, if we take any example, no problem. So I'll explain this example. So here the the constants, the functional dependencies are like this. So this is about the functional dependency. So there are some reasoning about, there are some Armstrong axioms are for functional dependency. They are reflexive, augmentation, transitivity, union, decomposition. There are some axioms are there for functional dependency. So they are reflective. So if y is the superset of x, then so y is functional dependent on, so x is the superset of y. So then we call it as y is functional dependent on x. So y is functional dependent on x, and yz is also functional dependent on xz. So that's what we called as augmentation, transitivity. So y is functional dependent on x, z is functional dependent on y, then automatically z is functional dependent on x. So that's we call as transitivity, union. So union of x, y is functional dependent on y, and z is also functional dependent on x. So then, y z is functional dependent on x. So that's we call as a union. Decomposition. If so, there are some axioms are there. So that's we called as functional dependency axioms. There are some. So the properties. There are some properties of functional dependencies. They are one is reflective. So reflective. So that's what is this reflective means. If let's say how the X is the superset of set symbols. So, symbols. Insert symbols. To insert some symbols is required actually. Well, we need some more Greek symbols are required this way. Superset and subset symbols is required that way, and searching those symbols in we need some symbols required. If those symbols are there, then it's easy for us. I'll Google it. Okay, tomorrow I will tell you. I will copy all the symbols what I required. So and I will tell you. Say actually this the one superset symbol is required. So if superset symbol is there, then it's again easy for us to teach completely. Okay, anyhow, tomorrow I will tell you the details. Okay, bye.